I'm going to talk a few minutes today about wintering birds. Um, no matter where you are in the country, pretty much in the United States, you have to have make some plans to secure birds for cooler weather, with a few exceptions. In North Carolina, we have greenhouses for some of the sensitive birds, as well as New York State. But the way we do it is pretty much the same thing. Um, So today we're going to put the plastic on this greenhouse. As you can see, there's in this particular greenhouse we have 1-inch netting. That way we can use the aviary for birds in the summertime when we have the plastic off. And I would recommend anytime anybody builds a greenhouse to put in the 1-inch netting versus 2-inch netting, in as much as you're covering it in the wintertime with plastic anyway. This greenhouse is actually a homemade jobby that was built here long before we acquired the place. But they took EMT, which is electrical metal tubing, to build these hoops. They just simply bent them with some a homemade hoop bender that still exists around here somewhere. So if you notice down here, there's some stuff that's called track base or track lock, or and that's actually for the for this, which is called wiggle wire. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to cover this greenhouse with the plastic. We're going to take this wiggle wire and we're going to just kind of wiggle it into place over the plastic to lock the plastic in. And this whole greenhouse will take, this is probably, I don't know, almost 40 feet long and probably 25 feet wide, 25 feet wide. And it'll only take like probably 10-15 minutes to cover this. We'll take a walk over here for a second. We also have an aviary down at the bottom of the hill that we're going to do a couple of pens. We're going to cover it with some track lock, and we've already got track lock up. We're going to cover that with plastic. And the nice thing about down in North Carolina is you don't have to worry about a lot of snow, at least in the area we're at. So we don't have to worry about snow collapsing anything. So this is our aviaries primarily for jungle fowl, gray jungle fowl. And what you can see again, we've got this base up here on the top and the bottom. This particular enclosure's got a tin roof on it, but we're just going to put the plastic around the sides. Now you can take little furring strips and nail the plastic in, but then you have a bunch of holes in the plastic. And this is why we prefer these base and track lock. That way we can just remove the plastic every season, every springtime, and put it on real quick in the fall time. The other thing is we also use greenhouse plastic, which is UV resistant. It'll last, I've got some stuff that's probably like 15 years old, only because we just use it in the wintertime. We don't use it year round. In a greenhouse situation, it might only last like 3 or 4 or 5 years or so. But construction grade plastic will only last 1 season, and that's it. Maybe not even a season, it'll start to break down. So that's why we use the greenhouse plastic. So I lied. There was actually more to this video than just that little bit I had a few minutes ago. So we got this thing done. It probably took less than an hour to do it. There's some swearing going on because the wind is always blowing and it's always a pain to get it lined up. So when the wind was blowing, we had a couple little holes. We ripped in the plastic, but that's usually not a big deal. We take some, To patch the plastic, if we have holes in it, we use this flashing tape. You can buy this in Lowe's or Home Depot. It's for tin flashing. You can buy plastic tape for greenhouses at the greenhouse supply, but we found that this stuff works better. It gives a nice tight, after it sits for a little while, it actually kind of vulcanizes to the plastic, and you don't ever have to worry about it coming off, whereas the greenhouse plastic tape tends to peel. And these look like mouse holes from chewing. So when we put this, one of the nice things I didn't mention with this track lock system is if it's a hot day, you can always just unweave a bunch of this and pull some plastic up so you have ventilation. It only takes a couple of minutes, unlike if you were actually to use furring strips and nail the plastic in. Also, when you're installing this stuff, the best thing to do is to leave a piece sticking out, not to weave the whole thing in. That way it gives you a piece to grab a hold of to pull it out. With this track lock also, we found that if you rip it like this, you can actually put little holes in the plastic. So if you have teenage boys or something like that and you haven't taken plastic off, you want to make sure that you supervise and make sure that when they're taking this wiggle wire off, that they're actually wiggling it back and forth versus pulling it. The teenage boys don't seem to care about that. I'm just weaving this back into place here. Got a little bit of an overlap. I don't like to cut this wiggle wire either, simply because then you'll have a bunch of little pieces the following year and you don't know where they go. So we just weave a second. If we have extra, we just weave it over the top of another piece of wiggle wire. Putting this plastic on, we also broke some of our electric fence insulators, which they're old and they dry out down in the sun here. So we replace them frequently anyway. We'll get that replaced today before we go. This wire, incidentally, is aluminum electric fence wire that we bought at Tractor Supply. I wouldn't recommend buying aluminum fence wire at Tractor Supply because it rusts and it shouldn't be rusting. So it's not aluminum wire, is what it boils down to. Another thing that we do with this plastic is we tuck this up underneath, this edge up underneath, for two reasons. One, we don't want it dangling on, this plastic dangling on an electric fence. Not that it would hurt it, as far as, it's not conductive, so it'll still send a charge through it. But we like to keep it off the electric fence. And we also tuck it up underneath versus over the outside, because if you tuck it up on the outside, whether it's North Carolina or New York, if you get rain or snow, you'll get pockets in here and it'll fill up and you'll have a big bubble here with water in it or snow. Then we can take a walk inside. We have this, we have a double door entry here for the greenhouse. We do have the track lock on here, the base for plastic. It's actually pretty warm. We don't need the base, the plastic on yet. We'll probably wait another a month and a half or so, just to give us some ventilation in this greenhouse. So we've got the plastic on, and it's probably already, it's like 74, 75 degrees outside, and it's probably pushing 90 degrees in here already, which is a little bit warm, but the ducks will be fine because it'll be cooling off here within the next couple of weeks. And the nights have been getting down right around freezing temperatures. One of the nice things, especially up in the north, if you have a greenhouse, or in the south, is in the north, if you have a greenhouse like this, you leave water trickling in a pond this size even, it'll actually keep the greenhouse warm enough, usually, so you don't have to worry about frozen water or anything, and you can actually keep tree ducks in northern climates if you have a greenhouse set up and some trickling water. Although if you run out of water, if your water goes down, then you've got a problem with frozen ponds and possibly frozen feet. We also, if necessary in here, in this particular greenhouse, we have some outlets on the walls where we can hang heat lamps in the winter, just to give some supplementary heat to some of our more sensitive birds. And I think that's